before goods issue from EWM. These are the details for the setup needed. There is another approach wherein the output type from S4 can be used to generate the invoice before goods issue when it is triggered from EWM, but we are not taking that approach. In this approach, we will be triggering it certainly from EWM, but we will default the invoice or the billing document type. Either we can do it through the enhancement in EWM, or in this example, since it's a demo system, I will be defaulting it in the sales document type, and that will be populated. So these are the steps or the prereq which is needed. So we'll go through the details. So if you navigate to logistics execution and then EWM integration and billing setting, within this, we will make based on the business requirement, we will maintain the sales document type and the sales or combination. And depending on the business requirement, either of the option can be maintained here. So in this example, I've used the route dependent scenario. So in general, I would say it would be allowed, but not mandatory. But again, these are the options. So depending upon what is the need for business, the relevant value can be maintained. For the standalone deliveries, there won't be any preceding document created, and SAP updates the DL as the sales document type for the deliveries such as LO. So that document type, you're using the such deliveries in your business scenario, or it's in your scope, then also maintain DL document type over here. The delivery which I have created, I'll be using OR as a sales order document type. Once this setting is done, there is another setting. If you want to cancel the invoice once the GI is cancelled, then you can maintain it. I'm not doing it, but if it is needed in your scenario, please maintain it accordingly. Now, once we have maintained this value over here, so this is the screen wherein we are checking the default invoice document type for the sales order type OR. So like I said earlier, so either we can use an enhancement which will kick in when we trigger the invoice from EWM, and therein we can default the document type based on the boundary condition or the logic, or we can use it whatever is maintained here. The implication of maintaining the specific document type over here, by standard it is F2, but I have changed it to F8. Then it will impact your whenever you're creating a delivery against this sales order for any different scenario, then also it will be impacted. So the best path would be, I would recommend, is to use the enhancement and then get the necessary delivery document type based on your scenario. So these are the two settings, core setting in S4, which needs to be done. Once those settings are done, then we will jump over to the setup needed in EWM. So the delivery document type, which is coming from S4, would be mapped to your EWM delivery document type. And in this, again, for both PDO and the FDO document category, it's important that the invoice before goods issue setup is marked as allowed. Now, the same setup has to be done. So in this example, this was the PDO, and the similar value is done for FDO. As you can see, it's grayed out. So it's by default, it's there. So we can check the process profile for further detail, but make sure this is marked. Now for the item type also, which are in scope, make sure the invoice before goods issue is allowed. As you can see, it is allowed. Now, once this setup is done, go to take the process profile from the final delivery document type and go to the configuration node for process profile and make sure the HU update checkbox is marked. So I've read it in one of the SAP note that if your in the document type, if invoice before goods issue is already allowed, then it's not needed to mark this checkbox. But we will still mark it just to be on safer side. So the purpose of this checkbox is that once you create the final outbound delivery, system will pass on the detail of the handling unit and the content over to the S4 side, and it will be visible in your delivery document. If it is a split delivery, then certainly you'll get a new delivery document number, but in my case it's not a split delivery, so we'll see all the details in the same delivery document number which is generated in S4. So just to show you the navigation path, so this is the process profile which I've captured from uh, the final delivery document type. So within cross process setting, go to delivery warehouse request and then navigate to process management and control. Now, once this setup is done, there is another setting which we need to perform, and that is go to SCWM IBGI transaction code and maintain the route over here which is in scope. And the purpose of this transaction code is that whether you want to create one single invoice for group of deliveries or just the individual one, because there can be a scenario wherein you are using the transportation unit and you're having multiple deliveries. So for those you want to create one single invoice, so accordingly it can be set up. So this is the setup which I've done in my scenario. Now I've already created a delivery and I've picked it and packed it. So this is the handling unit which is visible over here. So we'll create the outbound delivery for this. Before we go and see the details in the outbound final delivery, important point is that make sure that the indicator in your EWM audio for IBGI is as per your setup. So we did the route dependent one and it is visible, and the same value can be seen at the item level. So if any of the field is blank, then it would result that the invoice won't be getting generated. And as I said earlier, and we have seen it also, that if we go to we'll go to SC16 and then we will so if we go to SC16N and check the table LIPS. So for the relevant, I'm not putting any putting restriction on any of the line item, but if you check, so the detail which we need to check certainly is at the line item in LIPS table. So what we need to check is that whether the line item is relevant for billing or not. So FKREL is the field. So at time it happens that the delivery is appearing as relevant for billing in EWM, but in S4 side it is not relevant because the item type at the item type level in EWM we have marked the setting as allowed for invoice before goods issue, but at times we will notice that the item category in S4 side is not relevant for billing. So in that case we will see the scenario that even though we are requesting for invoice, but it is not resulting in that. Now in LIKP table again, go to select the particular delivery in scope, and here also we will check whether it is relevant for billing or not. So check the information and we can see that it is relevant for invoicing based on route. Now once these details are checked for the delivery document and we have maintained the necessary setup. So in this example, I'm using the default document type from the S4 uh, sales order document type. Otherwise, we can also do the enhancement. So these are the FM which will come quite handy for debugging, and this is the FM which triggers the or creates the invoice on the S4 side. So within this FM, if you debug it further, you will find the enhancement spot or the point to put the logic to default a document type. And at times the invoice, there is a routine generally mapped to the item types or item category that only when or to the document type when only when the PJ is done, then the invoicing should be done. So to bypass that, in that routine, you have to write again the boundary condition that if the invoice is generated from EWM, then it should allow. Otherwise, if it is S4, the delivery document is generated in S4, maybe like for consignment scenario and whatnot, then the invoice should not happen till the PJ is done. So you can put that logic in the relevant routine. So you can use the T code, VTFA and VTFL to figure out the relevant routines. Now, this is a note which is talks about the cancellation of perform invoice, since the perform invoice generally, or in reality, it won't carry any value. So you can, you cannot really cancel it. You have to set the status as completed in VF02. In this example, because this is a demo system, so you might see a journal entry associated with the proforma invoice, but in real time that won't be the case. And this is one of the SOP note wherein if you are using cross system flow of goods, you might notice that for the sales order scenario, system is not triggering the invoice and it is going into rather than going into this in FM, it is skipping this and going to a different one because system assumes it's a CRM system, so which is a bug. So if you implement this node, that will take care of it, and then it will start routing the code to this particular FM. Now we will go to for the outbound delivery in discussion. So once we trigger the invoice before goods issue for this delivery, it will trigger a queue. Now at the status level, we can check the status type DIN, which talks about whether the invoice has been requested or not. So if you already requested the invoice, you will see this message that invoice requested because the status for DIN is been set as 3. So we'll now request the invoice and we will, uh, you know, so there is a queue which gets generated. Now it is stuck because of the error. We will resolve the error. And we'll wait for the queue to be reprocessed, or we can reprocess it right away. So the queue is successfully processed. Now we will go and take a look at in the delivery in S4 side. So we can see that the invoice is generated. Now if we see the details of the invoice document type is coming as F8. So to cancel the invoice, we have to go to VF02 and set the document as completed. So once this is done, you can, as needed, you can regenerate the proforma invoice. Now we will take a look at the FM which are called behind the scene. So you can see that the DN status has it has been reset. Now before we re-execute this transaction, we'll take a look at the FMs. So if it is a CRM relevant system will route the code to this piece of code to generate the invoice, as I was talking about earlier in case of CSFG scenario. Now we'll just put a external breakpoint and we can also put a breakpoint and directly in the FM which is used for invoicing. So within this FM, you can put the code in one of the enhancement spot to default the document type. So we'll execute it and we'll check the details now. So these two FM will come quite handy in debugging the issue. If the invoice is not getting generated, you can see that why it is failing. So in this at this enhancement spot, you can default the document type. Since I've already done F8, you can write the condition and then check it. So we will take a look at the delivery document again. And you can see that the invoices, proforma invoices generated again. So these were the details which can come quite handy while setting it up without the output usage of output type in S4.